Hi, my grandchildren. So, I've been trying to sew, and I don't know how to sew, but I'm trying. So, while I'm sewing, it reminded me of a book, The Emperor's New Clothes. This is one of Margot's favorites. One vain emperor. Once there lived a vain emperor who lived to show off in his new clothes. He spent hours every day trying on new outfits and admiring himself in the mirror. One day, two weavers came to his palace. They took off their hats and they bowed to the emperor. "We are expert weavers," said one. "We can weave the best cloth in the world to make you the finest robes anyone has ever seen." I could use a couple of those weavers right now. "For a clever emperor like you, there is something quite special about our weaving," said the other. "Our beautiful cloth is so fine that stupid people cannot even see it." "That's fantastic," said the emperor. "There is a royal procession next week, and I want to wear the grandest robe ever made." He pictured himself striding down the street with all eyes on him and everyone admiring him greatly. The vain emperor gave the weavers a bag of gold and a room in the palace where they could make the new robes. The cheating weavers took the weaving and sewing tools in with them and pretended to work. Scissors snipped and needles stitched through the air. There are no needle stitching through the air here. The special cloth. Out on the street, notices told the people that there would be a procession in next week's time. Everyone wondered what the emperor would wear for the occasion. The royal maid heard the people talking about the procession and making guesses about the emperor's clothes. "I can tell you a secret," she said. "The royal procession will be the most amazing anyone has ever seen, and the emperor will look stunning. The weavers are making a special cloth for him. It is so fine that stupid people cannot see it," she told them. I don't know why they keep using that S word. The prime minister went back to the emperor smiling. "I have never seen anything so amazing," he reported. "What splendid colors! What a beautiful pattern!" The emperor pictured himself wearing the rich, luxurious robes in the procession the next day, and he too smiled. He wanted to show the weavers how pleased he was with their work, so he sent them another bag, overflowing with gold. Later that day, the excited emperor was again dying to see if his new cloth was ready, so he sent his chancellor to see how the weavers were going. "Let me see what you have done so far," ordered the chancellor. They smiled and held out their arms to show him. "Look at the lovely colors. Look at the marvelous patterns," said the cheating weavers. Patterns. Sorry, Boston accent. The chancellor looked hard and carefully, but he couldn't see anything either. However, he did not want to admit he was stupid, so he went back to the royal emperor and he bowed and smiled. "I've seen something truly wonderful," he said. "What lovely colors! What a marvelous pattern!" The vain emperor imagined himself dressed in a lovely, marvelous outfit, and he was full of gratitude, so he gave the weavers another bag of gold. It was hard for the impatient emperor to wait. He was burning to see the results of all the hard work. At last, however, the weavers carried the finished cloth to the emperor. He was waiting, sitting on his throne. On one side stood the chancellor, on the other side stood the prime minister. "Look at the marvelous pattern," said the chancellor. "Look at those splendid colors," said the prime minister. Both the chancellor and the prime minister seemed happy that the emperor would look wonderful in the procession. The prime minister helped to show him the finished cloth. The emperor looked down from his throne. He could not see anything. However, he did not want to seem stupid. "How magnificent," he said. "This is just what I want." There was a royal procession the next day. There was little time left, so the cheating weavers went back to their workroom and pretended to cut and sew new cloth into robes for the emperor. At last they cried, "Our work is done. The emperor's new clothes are ready. Let me see how he looks in them." The emperor came in and took off all his clothes. The weavers had a mirror ready for the fitting, and the emperor stood up in front of it. The weavers pretended to dress him in the new robes, smiling happy all the time. What do you think about those new robes? Come and see my new robes, cried the emperor. He stood waiting to be admired. A perfect fit, all the ministers cried. They could not see anything, but nobody wanted to be stupid. Everyone said how wonderful and elegant the emperor looked in his new clothes, and they gave him all their attention. The cheating weavers quickly left with all the gold. The next day was a holiday for the royal procession, and all people came to watch. The emperor walked proudly in the procession with his ministers. Along the streets, all the people cheered. What a magnificent robe! What an elegant suit! What lovely new clothes, they cried. They could not see anything either, but nobody wanted to appear stupid. The crowd looked on happily, enjoying a procession. Suddenly, a child pointed, yelling at, "Look at the emperor! He's got nothing on!" "That's right," the people shouted. "He has nothing on." Everyone laughed, and their laughter rang in the emperor's ear. At last he realized he was walking in the procession without a stitch of clothing on. The vain emperor blushed and felt very, very stupid. Don't use that word stupid. Not nice. A little thing about this story. The Emperor's New Clothes is a European fairy tale. It was written by Hans Christian Andersen and was published in 1837 with another tale he had written, The Little Mermaid. The story is originally included in the Libro Tales of Court Lanaker, a medieval Spanish collection with various sources. Imagine that you are the weavers and you have just run off from the palace. How do you feel about the emperor? I think those weavers were crooks, and they probably felt pretty smart. Now imagine you were the emperor. How do you feel about being worried about your new clothes? What would you say to the weavers and your ministers? So the emperor was very vain and wanted to look nice at all times. He would probably get the weavers arrested if he could, but his ministers were just doing what they needed to do to make the emperor happy. It's a story about vanity. Good thing, Nana doesn't worry about her clothes.